Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Homage to the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu. Homage to my Guru Bhante, our Kalyana Mitta Pinot Loku Swami Nahanse. Sadhu, sadhu. Namo Buddhaya. So today we have a beautiful discourse from Majjhima Nikaya. Majjhima Nikaya is the middle and discourses given by the Supreme Buddha. This is Anāthapiṇḍikovāda Sutta. You know about Anāthapiṇḍika? Anāthapiṇḍika, that's his actually nickname. Anāthapiṇḍika was the patron of the Buddha Sasana, Buddha's dispensation. He took care of everything. The Buddha, the Sangha, the monasteries, the richest person was a banker, a millionaire. How did he become the patron of the Buddha Sasana? So once he was visiting his brother-in-law, he was a businessman too, in a different city, maybe in Benares. That person was a very faithful disciple of the Buddha, arranging a huge dana at home. Remember? Dana is alms offering. And Anāthapiṇḍika was as the guest in the family. He was curious about this. The people in the house were very busy, preparing food, making arrangements, stuff like that. Anāthapiṇḍika questioned, do you have a wedding ceremony or something? Or maybe the King Bimbisara is visiting? Or maybe anything like special in your family? He said, no. We invited the Buddha for alms offering in our family tomorrow. That's why we are busy. So Anāthapiṇḍika was like surprised. He questioned, the Buddha? Did you say the Buddha? Of course, my friend. I was talking about Buddha. Did you say the Buddha? This is the first time he heard the word Buddha. But that word was very familiar to him. And that meant so much to his life. And he said, I should see the Buddha. I should see the Buddha. I should meet the Buddha. That's repeatedly he said to himself. And he said, I should go to to see the Buddha. And then the brother-in-law said, no, this is not the suitable time to visit the Buddha. You can go tomorrow morning. Okay, when the sun rises, you can go and see the Buddha. So he was so impatient to see the Buddha. And then he went to bed to sleep until tomorrow. He was waiting. And because that thought came to his mind, like the Buddha, he was thinking about the Buddha. The Buddha was like supremely enlightened. He was the perfectly enlightened Arahant, like Buddhanusati. That meditation was developed in his mind. And he entered into the samadhi, the higher concentration, because of that powerful feeling he had about the Buddha. We say that the Buddhanusati, recollection of the Buddha. Right? And with that samadhi, he woke up. He did not sleep, not in the sleep. He opened his eyes and he saw everything as the sun has arisen. As the sun was there. It's like the day. It's the daytime for him. But that's not the daytime. And what was that? That was the samadhi, aloka sanya, the perception of light. That everything was visible to him. He thought, oh, this is the perfect time that I can go to see the Buddha. So he left palace and went into the street and continued on to see the Buddha. But that was not the daytime. That still was the night time. And he happened to cross a cemetery on the one side of the street. And when he was like going near the cemetery was not a peaceful place, right? Even in the Buddha's time, the people did not bury the dead bodies. They cremated sometimes, but it's like they leave the dead bodies in the cemeteries and go. This was like very scary. It's a huge cemetery. When he crossed by the cemetery, his mindfulness was lost. The Buddhanicity was lost. And then he became just an ordinary person without samadhi, without concentration. And everything vanished. His visibility, he was able to see things as the day. Everything was dark. He was scared. Because of he was scared, his mindfulness again, like he was maybe like he feared. And then the Deva is a heavenly being called Sivaka. It's the Sivaka Sutta, right? Sivaka, being in the sky, spoke to Anāthapiṇḍikovāda. He said, do you remember? Satang hati, satang asa, satang asa tari ratha, satang kanya sahasani, amutta manikundala. Ekasa padivitiharasa, kalang sagasi solasi, he said. The meaning is, satang hati, even if you're gifted by 100,000 elephants, tusker elephants, decorated with ornaments, gold, jewels, gems, silver, you have that. Okay? Satang hati. Hati is the elephant, tusker elephants. Satang asa. Asa is the horses. 100,000 horses that you get as the gift. Satang asa tarirata. You have horse carts, 100,000. Like very comfortable with canopies and velvets and things like that, with very comfortable seats and beds inside. You get 100,000 horse carts with mares, female horses. Okay. Satang asa tarira. Satang kanya sahasani amuttamani kundala. And also, if you see 100,000 maidens with ornaments, 100,000. Ekasya padivitiharasa. That everything is not worth like the 16 parts of your step to see the Buddha. Did you get the meaning? When you keep a step to see the Buddha, if you divide that into 16 parts, that everything is not like worth with this small piece. Does that make sense? That's what the Sivaka said, being in the sky. What is the meaning of this? The wealth is not similar. Any wealth is not similar to the step you go to see the Buddha. That is the best. In the commentaries, this is explained, everybody. 16 parts explained like this. You know commentaries? Commentary is not the exact word of the Buddha, that the legends that we have to the discourse. They say that 16 parts is, you divide your step into 16 parts and you take one piece. And then again, you divide that one piece into 16 parts again. And you take one piece again out of these 16. And you divide that part into again 16. And you take one again. And you divide into 16 again. Likewise, you divide that part, one step, into 16 times. And you get that number. That length is more valuable than everything. 100,000 elephants, 100,000 horses, or 100,000 postcards, 100,000 maidens, and things like that. Keep going, Anāthapiṇḍika. Anāthapiṇḍika was his nickname. Do you know the real name of this guy? Siddhartha. Sudatta, keep going to the Buddha. This happened actually to him 3 times when he passes the cemeteries. And finally, he regained his concentration because of this beautiful utterance about the valuable thing that he's doing from the Deva. And he went to see the Buddha. When the morning, like at the dawn, when he reached the monastery, that was not the Anāthapiṇḍikovāda's monastery, right? Not yet. It's a different place. Buddha was walking in the walking path as a meditation. When the Anāthapiṇḍika was entering that monastery, Buddha said, Sudatta, come here. So when he heard the name of his own name from the Buddha, he was inspired, very happy. Buddha is calling my name, by my name. He went, he paid his veneration, keeping his forehead on the floor nearby the feet of the Buddha, and said, "O Venerable Sir, the Buddha, sir, I am the Sudatta." So he questioned, "Did you sleep well?" Of course, Sudatta, I slept well because I don't have greed, hatred, and delusion. This is how I sleep, Buddha said. So the Buddha gave a beautiful Dhamma talk about that, very short. On the same spot, he became Sotapanna. He became Srimatra for the first sight of the Buddha. Did his Anāthapiṇḍika's journey. And he became the best person, best donor in the dispensation to the Buddha. He continued to give, and then he bought that land from the Jeta. It's a royal park of Jeta Prince. Remember? How did he buy that land from Jeta? Remember? Jeta was not, he was not supposed to sell this land, this royal land that he used to enjoy his royal life. But Anāthapiṇḍika wanted to buy that land to make the monastery to the Buddha and the Sangha. So he went to Jeta and said, I need this land. I'm not going to sell. I will pay you gold. How? I can spread the entire land with gold as your charge. That's how I want to buy this land. All right. Then I agree, he said. When he was doing this, a little spot was left at the gate. Prince Jeta came and said, now we know. This spot is for me at the entrance of the palace. You don't have to cover this with gold, but give my name to the monastery. Give my name to the monastery. When you build the monastery for the Buddha, what is the name? Jeta. That's how you see at Anāthapiṇḍika's monastery in Jeta's grove. Jeta Vana. Vana is the forest. Okay, I can give you a name. So that's how you see. Evang me sutang ekang samayang bhagava savatyang viherati jetavani Anāthapiṇḍika sarami. Have you heard this? Jetavani Anāthapiṇḍika sarami. Jeta's grove, Anāthapiṇḍika's monastery. Everything was together. It's a beautiful name, huh? All right. So he was the main patron for the Buddha and the Sangha. And he was so generous after becoming a good disciple of the Buddha. He donated. He did not care that the people did not pay back. By the time he became very poor, remember? And then once he went to the Buddha and sat down, and the Buddha questioned, Anāthapiṇḍika, do you have your alms offering at home still? He said, of course, Bhante, I give alms to Mahasangha. But not like in my back in my days. I give gruel rice and bland curries to the Mahasangha. Very bland food I give. Buddha said, it doesn't matter if you give that respectfully, well arranged, believing in good karma, believing as you give something very, very good, like you're giving dana with respect. Something like the Buddha said, right? Remember? That was a time period that the Anāthapiṇḍika was very poor and his treasuries were empty. There was a Devata, Devata is the deity. She had his mansion on the gate at the entrance of this palace of Anāthapiṇḍika. So all the time the Buddha visits this family, and then the Sangha is visiting this family, and then she was unable to stay in her mansion when the Buddha and the Sangha were coming. Why not? They are respected, very respectful. So she should come down to the earth to pay respect to the Buddha all the time when the Buddha and the Sangha, when they come to the palace. That was very, very troublesome to her. She was annoyed. And one day, she wanted to stop this. She was not a good mentor. And appeared in the front of Anāthapiṇḍika and said, now stop giving. Because of your generosity, you became poor. Your treasury is so empty. Now stop giving to Buddha and the Sangha. She was not scared to say this to Anāthapiṇḍika. Anāthapiṇḍika said, who are you to tell me this? You should leave my palace right away, we said to the Devata. She lost her mansion, and now she doesn't have the mansion in the palace of Anāthapiṇḍika. Now what? She went to the Devata, the leader of the area, and said, I had this trouble. Please help me. He said, what did you do? I asked Anāthapiṇḍika to stop giving to the Buddha. This is very serious. I can't solve this. You should go to the main Devata of this area. Now what? She was so troublesome and went to the main Devata and said, please help me. I'm helpless. I lost my mansion. What did you do? I asked Anāthapiṇḍika to stop giving to the Buddha and the Sangha. This is very serious. I can't solve. In this way, you should go to the Vesavana, one of the 4 great kings. Vesavana, the Vaishnava, one of the great kings, he said, I can't solve this. This is very, so you have done something very, very bad, even though no one can apologize you. You should go to the Sakka. So this is very troublesome to her to go to Sakka because Sakka was very powerful, very busy, has lots of things to do, accomplish. She was waiting and waiting and waiting to meet Sakka. Finally, he got the chance and said, please, Sakka, help me. What did you do? I asked him to stop giving. I can't do this, Sakka said. But if you do something, I can help you. What is it? There is a big treasury hidden in the ground. No one is possessing. No one has the owner. No one owns that. And take it and fill the treasuries in the Anāthapiṇḍika's palace. Okay, I can do that. And there is a treasury washed away to the ocean that Anāthapiṇḍika's ancestors buried. That belongs to Anāthapiṇḍika. Bring that from the ocean and fill the treasuries again. All right, I can do that too. And there are lots of people, the traders, that borrowed money, hundreds, millions of money, force them to pay them back. Okay, I can do that. Now she is going from house to house as a person, as a devata, maybe as a spirit, and make them scared and saying that you should pay them back. Finally, she filled all of them, all the treasuries with the treasures in Anāthapiṇḍika's palace, and came to Sakka and said, all right, now you can apologize. Go to Anāthapiṇḍika and say about this. So she went to Anāthapiṇḍika and said, now you have your treasuries filled. Please forgive me. I cannot do this. Anāthapiṇḍika said, if the Buddha gives apologies to you, yes, I will. So we should go to the Buddha, both you and me, and out of compassion, Buddha said this actually. Right? This is from Dhammapada. Bhadropi passati papa.
Meritorious deeds seem to be bitter as long as they have yet to ripen. But when the meritorious deeds ripen, the merit maker will see the pleasant results with meritorious deeds.
Oh, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Actually, Buddha said two gathas. This is the first, actually.
Evil deeds seem to be sweet for the evildoer as long as the evil has yet to ripen. But when the evil ripens, the evildoer sees the painful result of his evil deeds.
This is what the Buddha first said, actually. Evildoer. And then the meritorious deeds. Okay, meritorious deeds seem to be bitter as long as they have yet to ripen. But when the meritorious deeds ripen, the merit maker will see the pleasant results of this meritorious deeds. Okay, so the Buddha said, okay. And then Anāthapiṇḍika was keeping giving, and he was practicing this Dhamma very well. And he came to the last moment in his life, and he was very painful. This is what we see in Majjhima Nikaya, in the third part, advice to Anāthapiṇḍika. Anāthapiṇḍikovāda Sutta. Can you read that? Anāthapiṇḍikovāda Sutta. Ovāda means the advice. Okay? Ovāda. We say in Sinhala avavāda, in Pali avavāda, in Pali ovāda. Anāthapiṇḍikovāda Sutta. The advice to Anāthapiṇḍika. We see this, okay?
So I had heard at one time the Buddha was in jail to Anāthapiṇḍikovāda. Now at that time, the householder was sick, suffering greatly. Then he addressed him, please, Mr. Buddha, and in my name, bow with your head, please save me. Sir, the householder, I have been because sick, suffering, and grateful feeling. He bows with his head to your feet. Then go to Venerable Sariputta and in my name, bow with your head to his feet, say to him, Sir, the householder, Anāthapiṇḍika is sick, suffering, greatly. He bows with his head to your feet, and then say, Sir, please visit him at his own hour of compassion.
So the Anāthapiṇḍika wanted to want this Venerable Sariputta Arahant Bhante to visit him for some advice. And then?
Yes, sir, but Nandapal did Anāthapiṇḍika asked. Then Venerable Sariputta rose up in the morning and, taking his bow and robe, went with Venerable Ananda as the second monk to Anāthapiṇḍika's home. He sat down on the seat spread out, said to Anāthapiṇḍika, I hope you're keeping well, householder. I hope you're all right. And I hope the pain is fading, not growing. That it's fading is evident, not it's growing. I'm not feeling well, Honorable Sariputta. I'm not all right. The pain is terrible and growing, not fading. It's growing, not it's fading. Is evident. The winds piercing my head are so severe. Feels like a strong man drilling into my head with a sharp point.
He's not happy, right? He's like, he has very powerful pain, physically.
It is so severe. Feels like a strong man tightening a tough leather strap around my hip. The winds slicing my belly are so severe, like a cat butcher or the apprentice slicing open the cow's belly with a meat cleaver. Burning in my body is so severe, feels like two strong men grabbing a weaker man by the arms, to burn and scorching on a pit with glowing coals. That's how severe the burn is in the body.
See, This is just the body, right? We experience all the time suffering. And again, we will continue reading.
I'm not giving up. Sorry to come. I'm not alright. The pain is terrible and growing, not fading. It's growing, not it's fading. It's everything. That's why also you should train like this. I shall not grasp the eye, and there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on the eye.
Sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so he was questioning, how are you feeling? How are you doing? He said that I'm not good. My pain is very terrible. So this is something very serious, very painful. But in that very serious situation, the Venerable Sariputta Bhante giving advice to Anāthapiṇḍika to recollect the Dhamma insightfully. How? This is what he said. That's why, householder, you should train like this. I shall not grasp the I, and there shall no consciousness of mind dependent on the I. I shall not grasp the I. So in the parallel translation we see from Sudasubante, therefore, householder, this is how you are to train. I will not cling to the I. So what is it all about? So this is how you should see about your I. I know I'm not here to cling to my I. Letting go of the I, letting go of the desire. So this is the last moment of Anāthapiṇḍika. He's like dying. The Venerable Sariputta asks him to let go of the desire to the I. And then my consciousness will not be dependent on the I. Consciousness will not be dependent on the I. It's like grasping and clinging in things with the consciousness. Let go of the desire with the consciousness to the I. Did you get the idea? How? How do we do this? How does the Buddha explain to do this? Seeing the impermanence of the I. As it is impermanent, you are not here to develop any craving to the I because it's suffering and impermanent. Right? Does that make sense? Yes. This is how at the last moment, why the Venerable Sariputta, the Arahant, is giving such a serious advice to Anāthapiṇḍika. Because you know that the clinging is the main thing. Desire is the main thing that causes suffering. The craving, we say tanha, the trishna or something. Buddha said that this is the most dangerous thing that causes suffering. Attachment is the most dangerous thing. We have three defilements basically, Greed, hatred, and delusion. Greed is the raga, hatred is the vesha, delusion is the moha. Greed, hatred, and delusion. If you are clung to something, that could be very, very dangerous. Remember, there was a monk in the Buddha's time. He was a very good monk. He was virtuous. He was actually practiced the Dhamma really well. He has the concentration. He was a good practitioner. And his sister gave him a robe. Remember? A robe. He actually recreated that robe later. And he had the plan to wear that tomorrow. The robe was in the kuti in the heart. And at night he died. With a strong desire and attachment to the robe, he died that night. What happened to him? He was born as an insect in the robe because of this desire. This is the danger, everybody, we all have. The attachment causes so much suffering. That attachment brought him as an insect in the same robe. Because of the death of this monk, all the other monks gathered together and discussed, now his possessions we can share. the robe, the alms bowl and things. Buddha was in the monastery Savatthi, and Buddha heard something very strange, because the Buddha had the divine eye. What was he was hearing? The Buddha was hearing. He heard someone was screaming, said, "Someone is stealing my robe. Someone is stealing my robe. Do not steal my robe. Someone is stealing my robe. Do not steal." Buddha heard this from the insect. Buddha sent a message to the group of monks and said, "Do not touch that robe for 7 days." That was a big question in the community. And they were discussing, why did he ask us not to touch that robe of that dead monk? Buddha did not say that. So he was in the robe, the insect. But his merit was powerful, and he died after 7 days, remember? And was born to the Tāvatīṇḍikovāda heavenly world, the second heavenly world. Because he practiced the Dhamma really well as a monk. But that strong desire brought him as an insect in the same robe. Everybody, this is the samsara we have. The journey was not that peaceful, okay? That's why out of compassion, Buddha gave this precious Dhamma to practice to all of us. To open our eyes, like we are blind, everybody. And then, after 7 days, Buddha sent again a message to the group of monks. Now you can share the robe and the possessions he had. So that was again a big question for them. And they went to the Buddha and said, "Bhante, why did you ask us not to touch that robe after his death?" Buddha said, "This was the danger. He became an insect because of that strong attachment to the robe." "Why did you ask us to get it maybe after 7 days?" they questioned. He left the robe and was born to the Tāvatīṇḍikovāda heavenly world as a Deva. Oh, see, this is just the life everybody we have. That's why the Buddha said, think about accordingly what the Buddha said. Do not create suffering by yourself, like developing your the tanha, craving, and attachment to this world. How? With the eye, with the ear, with the nose, with the tongue, with the body, with the mind. That's it. Minimize your craving to the world. Detach. Why? That causes suffering. That takes us to this life, to the next, and gives us so much of suffering. Even in the human world, we are happy. But what about the animal world? What about the other worlds? It's not happy. This is why, at the deathbed, the Venerable Sariputta Bhante was giving such a profound advice to Anāthapiṇḍika. Release your attachment to the I, the desire. Detach. How? Seeing the impermanence. What is this I actually? If you talk about this a little bit. What is this I? I is something very strong, like maybe physically. It's very delicate, very fragile, huh? Very subtle, very, how do you say that? Even the wind can make this sick. Very delicate, very fragile, very impermanent. It's not like something physical that we have, like maybe a pen. It's not that strong like a pen. It's not like strong like whatever you have with your hand. Very subtle. But what is the I for us? It's like the world. Why? We want to keep this. We want to protect this. But we do not want to see the impermanence. What is the danger of this thought? That causes us suffering again and again. But the good person, the noble person of the Buddha, they listen to this Dhamma and they understand the meaning what he says. What is the meaning? Minimize the attachments to this I, seeing the impermanence. Do not mix that with craving or something. Use it, but do not create any suffering with the tanha, with the craving. That's what the Venerable Anāthapiṇḍikovāda said to Anāthapiṇḍikovāda at the first time. Okay. Therefore, householder, this is how you should train. I will not cling to the I, and my consciousness will not be dependent on the I. Householder, this is how you should train. Does that make sense? This is the first one. And then the second thing.
Therefore, householder, this is how you are to train. I will not cling to the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, the mind. And my consciousness will not be dependent on the mind. Householder, this is how you are to train.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. This is not something actually easy to do, right? Because the sense faculties we have, when we have contact with other world, outside world, we use this eye, we use this ear, we use this nose, tongue, body, and the mind. And we say, this is my world. This is my thing. I need this. How can I say goodbye to this? This is my house or something we say, right? This is my body. But the thing is, everything we have, everything we use is very temporary, subject to change all the time. Even the good things, even the bad things, everything. And we go to another world and we have something more, something different, again and again. We say goodbye. With lots of suffering and pain, we let go of these things because of the craving, and we have another thing again. That happened to us in our previous life too. Remember? We don't remember. We said goodbye to everything in our previous life. To our mom, dad, family, children, husband and wife maybe, even if we were in the human world, and to the beautiful body we had from the gym. That was not something very easy to do, but we did that. If you were in the human world, right? And then the family, the job, the countries, whatever we had. Maybe if you became the owner of the ship company or something, you said goodbye and came here, right? And also maybe not only you, everybody. Maybe from the Deva world we came, saying goodbye to that. Maybe from the ghost world we came, saying goodbye to that terrible suffering. And we do the same thing here today to the next. This is endless, Buddha said. This is endless. This suffering is endless. It's not that easy to say goodbye and to go to the next, right? It's not that easy, but we do. With lots of pain and grief and suffering. We do this. But even if we come to the human world, that's not that bad, right? That does not happen all the time. If we come back to the human world, that's no problem, right? Maybe you can say that. It's reasonable to say, okay, I will come back to the human world and I start my life again. It's okay. But that does not happen all the time. Mostly beings fall to the bad realms because of the bad. So we have this Dhamma to escape from this cycle of suffering. How? See the impermanence of things. When you see the impermanence of things, you minimize that craving. The craving is the problem. I is not the problem. I is not the problem. The attachment is the problem, right? Your family is not the problem. The uncontrolled desire is the problem. Does that make sense? The food is not the problem. It's not the issue. We need food. We need family. We need a house. We need a car. The issue is the craving, the attachment. As a mom or as a dad, you should take care of your family, right? It's your responsibility. It's your obligation. It's something that you have as a duty. But how? You need your compassion, your loving kindness, your caring, your love, and everything to take care of your family. It's not unwholesome. It's the most beautiful part of this life. When you take care of your family, it's your duty, it's your responsibility. This is meritorious and this is wholesome. Leads to Nibbana. It's good quality. What's the issue we have then? It's like the both sides of a coin. The attachment. What is attachment means? You need more. You need something in return from them. Does that make sense? It's not letting go. Right? As a person. So if you become very generous, you do not think back anything like in return. Or maybe I need a thank you, for example. You don't want to do this. When you become generous with the idea, with that sense, like I do not get anything in return, I do not expect, anticipate or anything. It's the true generosity. Generosity is a beautiful feeling you have that you are generous. You are open to give. You are ready to give, right? This is the letting go. I give because my name will be shown in the television. Some people do this. Maybe I will get more likes and views for my videos if I become more generous or something. So it's not true generosity. What do you say? I will do a very big the religious ceremony and put on YouTube. The people will see and like me. It's not your Shraddha, right? It's a different side of the story. But you go to the stupa and you light a candle and pay your veneration. This is my teacher, my Buddha. This is the merit, right? It's not like something very hidden. This is how we should think about the world, right? It's different. It's a different idea. Does that make sense, everyone? And the same thing, the faculties in the ear. Even if we say like, this is my eye, the eye is not yours. Eye is not mine. Why not? If this eye is mine, I can keep eye in my control. When it gets old, when it gets die, we should stop it. You cannot do this. We happen to say goodbye to this, right? But how? But the Arahants, they have no any pain to say goodbye to this. Why? They have fully eradicated the craving to this. They have no pain. That's why they don't have a rebirth next time. They extinguish like the flame of a lamp. Does that make sense? Yes. Everybody, when it comes to the family, maybe sometimes you might say that I should minimize my attachment to my family or something. You can do this, but this is not like grudge. This is not like maybe anger. This is not like maybe resentment or something, right? You need two things actually, basically, to do this. What is the first one? Seeing the impermanence of things. Then you become very neutral when you see the world as impermanent. Does that make sense? Very neutral, very middle, very normal, like not like enthusiastic with the sensual pleasures. This is the first one. What is it? Seeing the impermanence, the perception of impermanence. Everything changes. Everything changes. And then the second thing is metta, loving kindness. When you have these two things, beautiful qualities in your life, you become a beautiful person, developing wholesome things. Such a very calm and peaceful lifestyle. In the family, in your workplace, in the country, you give a beautiful service to the world. as you are practicing to the Nibbana. This is the perfect practice of letting go. Like practice as a Buddhist teachings like this, we'll say goodbye to the human world and we'll have a better life after this. We'll be safe and we'll gain everything for the practice, Buddhism, and attain that happiness of Nibbana very soon. Why? Because it's a path. When we do not do these two things, what will happen to us? Like something happened to that small creature, the insect. Very dangerous, huh? So Anāthapiṇḍika had everything in his life. He was a Sotapanna Shravaka, stream entrant. And he had a good family, beautiful wife, lots of children. They achieved certain fruits of the path. Sotapanna, Sakadagami, some children. And his family was so good. And he has a good name in the country. Even though Venerable Sariputta Arahant Bhante said, think about your eye like this. I will not cling to the ear, nose, and things, okay?
Therefore, householder, this is how you are to train. I will not cling to visible objects, sounds, fragrances, flavors, tangible objects, thoughts, and my consciousness will not be dependent on thoughts. Householder, this is how you are to train.
Internal faculties, you have your eye, everybody, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And external faculties as yes, form, sights, sounds, smells, the fragrances, tastes, tangibles, and thoughts. Everything is like external. Thought is external, right? A thought is something external. We believe in this. We think that thought is mine, right? We belong. The thoughts belong to us or something, we see. No. Thoughts external. It's external things. Then the anger is external. Craving is external. Desire is external. Not belong to you. That's why you can let that go. Mind is internal. Thoughts are external. Because of these external things, the mind defiles. They can defile this mind. And they can purify this mind too. Dhamma is external. Dhamma is external. You get it to your mind to make your mind peaceful and happy. External things. Anger is external. Desire is external. Does that make sense? Yes. Mind is luminous, the Buddha said, right? It can be defiled by the external obstacles. Something like that. The desire is not the problem of the outside world. It's not a problem. It's the problem of the mind. As the mind gets that desire from the outside world, the mind gets defiled. Perception. This is good. This is a good side for me or something. The perception me, mine, and myself, and perception of impermanence. Two things to the same thing. Me, mine, or myself, or impermanence. It's the same thing. According to the view you have, according to the perception you get as external things, your mind created and you create karma. Does that make sense? All right, next.
Therefore, householder, this is how you are to train. I will not cling to eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mind consciousness, and my consciousness will not be dependent on mind consciousness. Householder, this is how you are to train.
We have a series, right? The first thing is the eye, the second thing is the form, external thing, and then the third thing is again the eye consciousness. Eye, form, eye consciousness. Remember? Eye, form, eye consciousness. What about the ear? Ear, sounds, ear consciousness. All right. The next part.
Therefore, householder, this is how you are to train. I will not cling to eye contact, ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, mind contact, and my consciousness will not be dependent on mind contact. The householder, this is how you are to train.
Okay, next step. What is the first one? I. The second, form. The third, eye consciousness. Because of these three things, we have eye contact. Eye contact is not me, not mine, not myself. That's how you practice, right? In the meditation, remember? All right, the next part.
Therefore, householder, this is how you are to try. I will not create feelings produced by eye contact. Feelings produced by eye contact.
Ear. You can see
Feelings produced by nose contact. Feelings produced by tongue contact. Feelings produced by body contact. Feelings produced by mind contact. And my consciousness will not be dependent on feelings produced by mind contact. Householder, this is how we are.
you have these repetitions, right? But the Venerable Sariputta Bhante did not say like this. He had that everything in detail, not like repetitions. Huh? Like householder, this is how you are to train. I will not cling to feelings produced by eye contact. My consciousness will not depend on feelings produced by eye contact. Householder, this is how you should train yourself, like that. He doesn't have repetitions. They have lots of patience, right? We are very impatient to read. Like we drop things and we keep reading. This is how the current world, everybody have, right? But you don't want to have that same idea. If you're patient, read that way, right? Maybe not now. Later, read. So remember, the first one is I, the second is the form, the third is eye consciousness, the fourth, getting together of these three things is called eye contact. And then the fifth, feeling. Because of the eye contact, you feel maybe pleasant, maybe unpleasant, maybe neutral. Feeling anything. And in every step, you should say to yourself, this is impermanent, subject to suffering, not me, not mine, not myself. Okay? That's how you let go of the desire to the permanent happiness, right? Letting go is not like very negative notes for happiness.
Therefore, to see that this body are I will not be to the earth element, water element, the fire element, the air element, the space element, the consciousness element, and my consciousness will not be dependent on consciousness element. Householder, this is how you are to check.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. These are actually the dhatu, the elements. Patavi dhatu, apo dhatu, tejo dhatu, vayu dhatu, akasa dhatu, vijnana dhatu in Pali. Earth element. What's earth element actually? It's all about the body. Earth element is something solid we have. Hair, bones, flesh, something like that. Water element? Blood, saliva, something like that we have in the body, right? Not me, not mine, not myself. And then air elements, in and out breath. And then the verbs you have like that, the air we have in the body, right? And then space element, we have space in the ear, in the nose, like we have that space, right? Even in the stomach, we have the space. It's like the body, the physical body. And then the consciousness element. Consciousness, this, the vijnana we say in Pali. It's also the dhatu element, okay? Not me, not mine, not yours. In different kinds of ways, Venerable Sariputta Bhante giving advice to Anāthapiṇḍikovāda. And then the next.
Therefore, also this is how you are to train. I will not cling to the body, feelings, recognition, mental formations, consciousness. And my consciousness will not be dependent on consciousness. Also, the Saudi Arabian.
5 aggregates of clinging. So see, the Sariputta Bhante gave, before he gave about the elements. And then now he is talking about the 5 aggregates of clinging. Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. Let go of the desire to these 5 aggregates of clinging. What is Rupa? Physical body. Vedana, feelings. Sanya, perception. What's the word we have here? Recognition. And Sankara, mental formations. And Vijnana, consciousness. Again, this is everything like we have clung to these things. We are clung to the eye, ear, and that's why we are like, we have countless journey of samsara. And next.
Therefore, householder, this is how you should train. I will not cling to the dimension of infinite space, the dimension of infinite consciousness, the dimension of nothingness, the dimension of neither perception nor non-perception, and my consciousness will not be dependent on the dimension of neither perception nor non-perception. Householder, this is how you should train.
What did you understand from this actually, from this part? This actually for the higher stages of the concentration, samadhi, akasanyayatana. See, so the dimension of infinite space and dimension of infinite consciousness, viññānañcāyatana, akinchanyayatana. These are the levels of samadhi, neva sanyana sanyayatana. Neither perception or non-perception, like this. Okay. So why this Venerable Sariputta Bhante asked him to let go of the desire to the samadhi as well. Samadhi is a concentration. So we try to attain the kind of level of samadhi, right? We cannot do this, but this is maybe the target we have in the practice, Dhamma, meditation. But the Bhante asked him to let go of the desire to the samadhi as well. This is not the first samadhi, second, the third, the fourth. Above them, beyond them, we have these 4 kinds of samadhis, concentrations. But even though for that, such a peaceful samadhi, the Bhante asked him to let go of the desire. Why? The desire causes suffering. The desire is the problem. Even to that high level of peace in your mind, concentration, in the practice, you're not here to have attachment to that level. The first samadhi is not similar to any happiness in the world. Any food you eat, any music you hear, any fragrance you have, any taste you, whatever. It's not similar. It's very high. The happiness you gain from the first jhana is not similar to any happiness in the human world, any happiness in the heavenly world. Even the Buddha said that let go of that desire to that level of happiness. Why? Desire causes suffering. Desire is not anything. So desire is the craving. Craving causes suffering. Then what do you want to see this? Impermanence of that level of samadhi as well. Impermanence of the peace you have. Because this Dhamma is beautiful and leads you to the permanent happiness of Nibbana. The main purpose of Nibbana in this Dhamma, right? Does that make sense? Right. Anāthapiṇḍika, I don't know about this though. Anāthapiṇḍika might have these kinds of samadhi because he's a Sotapanna Shravaka. Do not have attachment to that too. How hard it is, right? To gain such a samadhi.
That's how you should train. You should train like this. I shall not grasp the world, and there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on this world. That's how you should train. You should train like this. I shall not grasp the other world, and there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on other world.
I shall not grasp this world. If you have the view about this world, I'm not here to grasp this thing. I'm not to cling. I'm not going to hold this world as mine. You become so neutral, calm, peaceful, happy. Why? It's the point that you do not have any defilement, any craving to the world. That's the point that you do not cry, do not lament, do not grieve, do not shed your tears. Even in a very serious moment, this is just the world we have, right? A pandemic came and like we had sort of suffering. We get old everybody day by day. We do not stop it. We cannot do this. And we will have a final day. Days are counted actually to everyone. This is not very, very simple, right? Such a tremendous thing we have hidden as suffering. It's like the great ocean. Suffering is not something simple, not like a cup of tea. Okay? So that's why, see, I think this is a beautiful sentence. If you get the meaning. I shall not grasp this word. And there shall not be consciousness of mind dependent on this world. I do not put my consciousness to the world and get this world as mine. How do we do this? Not me, not mine, not myself. If it is impermanent, it is subject to suffering. It belongs to suffering. If it is suffering, it's not me, not mine, not myself. There's a perception the Buddha wanted you to develop as a good disciple. If you need that permanence, freedom from suffering. And then the next. I shall not grasp the other world, and there shall not no consciousness of mind depend on the other world. What is the other world? After this slide, the next. You have lots of information in the teaching of the Buddha. Buddha said that heavenly world is safe. After this human world, if you go to a next world as a heavenly world, it's safe. What is this contradiction? That world is not mine, not mine, not me, not mine, not myself. In a way, heavenly world is safe. What is this? Everybody, we are in the journey called samsara. Repeatedly, we are going. Like, if you do not say that I do not want to be born anywhere, it happens to us. Why? We are not released from this cycle. We are still in the cycle. We will have a place, definitely, until we get liberated. We should be safe in the cycle. Wherever you are in the cycle, you should be safe. If you need that practice to, if you need the Dhamma to practice, to understand. Does that make sense? You should take care of yourself very well. Here and now, hereafter, if you need practice. This is the purpose. Purpose is not the heavenly world. Purpose is the Dhamma, the Nibbana. If you need that Nibbana, you should be safe here. You should eat well. You should have a good house. You should have a vehicle. Does that make sense? You should have a good job. You should have a family. Why? You should take care of yourself. If you don't have a car, how do you come to the monastery to listen to Dhamma? Very clear. If you do not eat, how do you meditate? You will die. If you do not take medication on the time, it's not the solution. Take care of yourself is wholesome. It's your loving kindness. It's the compassion, right? Makes sense. But you have some limitations. Like for Bhantes, Buddha said, you have only one meal in the morning time and practice the other. Right? You should be away from the worldly stuff and stay in the monastery and practice. That's the thing. Does that make sense? You can't use money like that, right? For the Bhantes, huh? It's not for you. All right, everybody. You understand the meaning, eh? You should definitely go to the better world if you need this Dhamma. If you go to the animal world, what will happen? You will hear Dhamma? Not at all. Huh? Get the perfect meaning, the real idea. Then you will be happy. Unless you might say, no, I don't need this. I don't need my family. I don't need my job. I don't eat. I don't need to take it. It's not okay. Eat well and buy beautiful clothes from the stores and wear. And buy a beautiful car, comfortable.
That's how you should train. You should train like this. I shall not grasp whatever is seen, heard, thought, known, attained, sought, and explored by the mind. And there shall be no consciousness of mind dependent on that.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Such a beautiful sentence, everybody. If you get the meaning correctly. This is my world. Something I experienced, we say, right? We have maybe, any. You have maybe hundreds of pictures collected. Me as like this and that or something. Problem is not the number of pictures we have. Problem is not the devices we have. What's the problem? Again, the attachment, everyone, okay? Attachment causes suffering. Get that. So how do you minimize that? Seeing the impermanent. Subject to impermanence, subject to destruction. If it is impermanent, again, repeat this again and again, okay? If that's impermanent, that causes suffering. If that causes suffering, it's not me, not mine, not myself. You minimize the craving, right? That makes sense to you? Okay, we do understand at all, like at once when we see this Dhamma, when we listen to this Dhamma, we do not understand. I don't understand actually. Keep reading, keep listening to this beautiful idea from the foremost person, from the Buddha. Keep listening. We don't understand. We don't understand at all. Doesn't matter. Keep reading and be happy. The Buddha gave us such a tremendous and profound idea about this world. Not like an advertisement from the television, right? See the difference between the television advice and the Dhamma. It's different, right? Wherever you go, like they sell their things to you. It's not the Dhamma. Dhamma is very opposite.
That's why you should train. When he said this, Anāthapiṇḍikovāda cried and burst out in tears. Venerable Ananda said to him, "Are you failing household? Are you failing household?" "No, Honorable Ananda. But for a long time I have paid homage to the Buddha and the esteemed mendicants. Yet I have never before heard such a karma thought."
Sadhu, see? At the deathbed, he says that I've never heard such a beautiful Dhamma talk before. You are luckier than Anāthapiṇḍikovāda. He was so happy, that's why he cried, listening to that from Venerable Sariputta.
Householder, it does not occur to us to teach such a Dhamma talk to white-colored lay people. Rather, we teach like this to those gone forth. Well then, Honorable Sariputta, let it occur to you to teach such a Dhamma talk to white-cloth lay people as well. They are gentlemen with little dust in their eyes. They are in decline because they haven't heard the teaching. There will be those who understand the teaching. And when the Venerable Sariputta and Ananda had given the householder Anāthapiṇḍikā this advice, they got up from the seat and left.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Many merits falling for your beautiful reading.
Thank you.
Anāthapiṇḍika cried and he said, "Please, Bhante, teach this kind of Dhamma talk to lay people as well." Mostly Buddha gave such a profound Dhamma talks to monks. But this Dhamma is to everybody, okay?
Not long after they had left, Anāthapiṇḍika passed away and was reborn in the host of joyful gods.
To sit the heavenly world, yes.
Then late at night, the glorious god Anāthapiṇḍika, lighting up the entire Jeta's grove, went up to the Buddha, bowed, stood to one side, and addressed the Buddha in verse. This is indeed that Jeta's grove frequented by the Sangha of seers, where the king of Dhamma stayed. It brings me joy. Deeds, knowledge and principle, ethical conduct, and excellent livelihood, by these are mortals purified, not by clan or wealth. That's why an astute person, seeing what's good for themselves, will examine the teaching rationally and thus be purified in it. Sariputta is full of wisdom, ethics, and peace. Even a mendicant who has crossed over might at best equal him. This is what the god Anāthapiṇḍika said, and the teacher approved.
Such a beautiful stanzas. Anāthapiṇḍikovāda reappeared in the Tusita heavenly world and came back all of a sudden to pay his veneration to the Buddha and the Sangha. And he was happy. He was inspired and he was so joyful to see the Sangha in the monastery. Mr. Deva, see? That's the monastery he offered to the Buddha and the Sangha.
This is what the god Anāthapiṇḍika said, and the teacher approved. Then the god Anāthapiṇḍika, knowing that the teacher approved, bowed and respectfully circled the Buddha, keeping him on his right, before vanishing right there. Then when the night had passed, the Buddha told the mendicants all that had. When he had spoken, Venerable Ananda said to the Buddha, "Sir, that God must surely have been Anāthapiṇḍika, for the householder Anāthapiṇḍika was devoted to Venerable Sadhu."
Sadhu. Sadhu. Ananda gets, right?
Good, Ananda. You reached the logical conclusion as far as logic goes, for that was indeed the god Anāthapiṇḍika. This is what the Buddha said. Satisfied, Venerable Ananda was happy with what the Buddha said.
Sadhu. Sadhu. Did you like the Sutta?
Yes.
Yeah, that's all.
Beautiful, huh? It's a lot to understand, actually. When you listen to this beautiful Dhamma talk, actually, you have one thing to learn. This is the perception of impermanence in the world, okay? This leads to your permanent happiness. Perception of impermanence, perception of impermanence, perception of impermanence. Sound.